scripture they'd like me to read and talk about a little bit. Pete was pretty quick to come up with a passage from the end of 1 Chronicles chapter 28, verse 20. And that was a new one for me. I haven't been asked to preach on it. And Pete remembered the gist of it and quoted it this way. It's King David's advice to his son Solomon as David was transferring the kingship to his boy. The gist of it is this: don't be afraid of the size of the task, because God is with you. Don't be discouraged, but be strong and brave, and everything will come out correctly. A great passage, actually. So we're going to talk about it. It does kind of leave it open to the question of just how big a project Pete thought it is to be married again. Sorry, Pam.
It's very big.
You couldn't resist. So, but of course, that's not what attracts Pete to the passage today. To know them and to watch them together is to know how much joy they have just being together, how much joy they bring to each other. To know them is to know that there is something that rejoices in God's heart as the two of you are together. It takes some catching up for some of us to get to see all of that and to live into it. But those of us who know you well are delighted that you have each other. You know, they bring a lot of resources to this marriage. They're both grown-ups. They both have a lot of life experience behind them. They're both disciplined, charming, great in social situations. They both brought financial security into the marriage. And so is that what this passage is about? If you bring a lot of stuff into a marriage, then there you go. You're going to have a swell marriage. Well, actually, it helps a heap. It really is nice if you, when you get married, you're all grown up. When my wife and I were first married, we were almost 20, and you know, she just had to raise me, and I eventually learned a whole bunch of things I needed to know. But here you are, grown up and lots of life experience, lots of wisdom, lots of skill together. But there is more to hope for in marriage than just how charming and lovely and careful you are, and how secure you are. There is also a God who knows you and loves you, and you pointed to this passage because of that too. And I want to refer a little bit to one of the other things that David said. Most of us know Psalm 23. It's a great, great psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Know that one? Well, we forget sometimes that David didn't write that poem, that psalm, so that it could be read in pious little moments when people wanted to hear something sweet about God. He wrote it out of a whole lifetime of experience with God. When he looked back over his lifetime, a lifetime of having been chased and tried to be killed by a king, and he escaped just by the skin of his teeth several times. When he looked back over his life and thought about having faced a giant who was armed with armor and he just with a sling. When he looked back over his life and thought about all the responsibilities of uniting a kingdom and of defeating enemies and setting up a government and all of that, when he looked back on it all, he saw that every day of it, God was with him. And that